We are back here on the Walkthrough Game Day Show, presented by Mountaineers Now, a Sports Illustrated Fan Nation channel. I'm Schuyler, Callihan, and with me, as always, my co-host of the Walkthrough Game Day Show, former West Virginia running back Eugene Napoleon. And Gene, we didn't get to talk about the West Virginia-Iowa State game this past Saturday. We didn't do a Mountaineers Now post-game show. We will have one this week, but we haven't talked about it yet. So I figured before we get into some of the other stuff we have on tap today, let's just go over it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but your initial takeaways from the 31-14 loss out in Ames, Iowa.
Well, first, I'm just shaking. Yeah,
I'm just shaking. I mean, it is what it is at this point, right? It's
tough. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I wish we would have played better. Obviously, I think everybody wished we would have played better. It's just the key mistakes that we continue to make week in and week out. And the one thing about a competitive league with competitive teams, if you're not consistent, there's no way you're going to win football games.
Yeah.
So it's just that simple. So when I look at the game itself, listen, I guess me being upset, looking at it through a different lens, is you come into this game and we have the same record.
And
so
this is the same thing that you said a couple of weeks back against Texas Tech.
Right. Absolutely. You come into this game and you have the same record. So it's not like their program is progressing so far ahead of yours, and no disrespect to their program, but Iowa State, obviously, they were having some of the same very issues that we were having as to why they were losing their games as well. So therefore, again, it's not like they're so much further ahead. It's just that they made the plays. Unfortunately, we didn't. They did some things in periods of the game which we didn't adjust to. And obviously that allowed them to win a game that, to be quite frank, the score was not indicative of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Green led that touchdown drive at the end of the game, made it 31-14. But, I mean, there's just absolutely nothing going offensively for West Virginia. JT Daniels,
right.
I got to tell you, Gene, like I never saw that kind of performance coming from JT Daniels or this offense, because the offense hasn't been the problem this year. It's been the defense. But then this game, it was a little bit of everything, really. And I actually thought defensively they didn't play horrible. But when your offense can't stay on the field, they were 2 of 12, I believe, on third downs. Yes, 2 of 12 on third downs, had several 3-and-outs to start the game. You're putting your defense in a tough spot, and it's already a weak unit. So that's just a recipe for disaster. What did you see from JT Daniels this week that was different from the week before? Obviously, there's a lot, but what was some of the biggest things that stood out to you?
It just looked indecisive. Indecisive, and I think when you already are pressing, and things are not going right, it's almost like you're prone to make those mistakes where you do look indecisive, you do look a little bit unsure, you do look a little bit like you're pressing to make the big play. Every throw is not going to be a touchdown throw. And I think sometimes quarterbacks, a lot of times they get too much of the blame, and then sometimes they get too much of the credit. So I think he's in a situation where you really know, of course, you don't want to play poorly in any game. But I just think he's pressing a lot more because he feels as though, and I don't know him personally, but I think any competitor at that position would probably feel this is on me and I got to fix it.
Yeah.
So a lot of the mistakes, I think, they're just mistakes because he's trying to counterbalance what's going on offensively and defensively, and he feels though as a quarterback, you got to pick up the slack. But in doing that, you see time and time again, you're starting to see the costly mistakes that we're making that actually it's not helping the defense. It's obviously hurting the defense because you got to stay on the field and you got to convert those third down opportunities. It's as simple as that. And if you don't do those things, you're going to put more pressure on your defense.
Yeah, I saw a lot of just bad decisions. I saw a lot of bad placed balls. Like it didn't look like the normal JT Daniels that we're accustomed to seeing. The guy that's kind of calm and collected in the pocket. It seemed like he was, I wouldn't say rushed, but it just felt like he was off. And I don't know what that was. His timing was off. Like I said, the ball placement was off. And he even was kind of short on a couple of those throws, and
Right.
he weren't like down the field throws either. So, very odd to see. I don't expect that to be the case again this week. Neil Brown did say that he will be the starter despite, Garrett Green coming and making that touchdown drive at the end of the game with essentially, in garbage time. But JT Daniels will continue to be the starting quarterback. And this was an interesting quote that Neil Brown said during his press conference on Tuesday that I was kind of a little surprised by, because this is something I wouldn't expect you to say as a coach, maybe out to the media. But this is what he said about the offense. He said, we've got to be able to change the picture, make it more difficult for the defense. We didn't move, we didn't motion, and some adjustments, and didn't do as much adjustments as we had in the past. We got to push the ball downfield more, and we've got to do some more things off the run game. I get that, but did he literally just admit that they didn't adjust at all? Did he admit that they did not evolve their offense? Because, like I said, yesterday, when you enter the season, you kind of have a plan for or a vision for what your offense is going to look like. Now,
Right.
what that offense looks like in week 1 should be, hopefully, if you're doing things right, looking completely different by week 9, week 10, where we are today, because you're able to do more things because those guys know what they're doing, they know what's expected of them, and you can do some more personnel, formations and whatnot. So for them to continue to, or for Neil Brown to say that they didn't change the picture enough, that's there being a predictable offense. How big of a problem is that quote from Neil Brown?
Well, here's the thing. Okay. So the English language is real interesting, because if you pay attention to what people say, right, they really tell you exactly, even if you try to walk that statement back, you can't, because essentially what you're saying is, we didn't do anything to prepare our signal caller to be in a position to change the picture where the defense knows that we're not going to be predictable on certain downs, first, second, and third down. Okay, that's what you're saying, right? Okay. The other thing is, unless you're going to let your quarterback call the offense, then that means every call that was made is on you and on your OC, Graham Howell, correct? Yeah. So if you didn't do these things, it doesn't fall on your quarterback, your offensive line, your running backs, or your receivers. It falls on the coaching staff.
And I want to ask you this too, because if you say this, Tuesday after the game,
right?
Did you really have to take 3 days to realize that? Like that's more alarming. That's the most alarming thing about this is like, if you recognize this on Saturday during the game, you could have made those adjustments. That's the feeling of the game that a coach has to have. A head coach has to have the feel for the game and how it's being played and the way it's going and whatnot. So how does that not happen?
See, these are the things that I'm talking. Right. These are the things that I'm talking about, where I say the critiquement and the criticism is harsh. That's coming down the pike from fans. And let me categorize it this way. If you haven't played the game at this level, it's hard for someone to understand how quickly these things are happening. As a former player at the collegiate level and at the professional level, I could tell you how quickly these things happen. So you can't explain that to a fan when all they want to see is productivity and wins. Yeah. So with that being said, the critiquement and the harsh criticism that Neil Brown is getting along with the staff now, it's stuff like this. It's material like this that a fan is reading, and they're like, okay, now you give them permission, I guess, to critique you and be as harsh as they're being. It's exactly what you just said, Schuyler. You cannot not make the adjustment during the game, because that's what you're supposed to do as a head coach. You make the adjustments. Put it this way, then that statement should have never been made to the media.
Yeah, exactly.
Then that statement should have been behind closed doors with your, and then translated to the team. And you leave that out of the media. Because here's the thing. Had that statement been made behind closed doors, it wouldn't be in the media for the fans to pick apart.
Exactly. And now it is.
So yeah, because now it is, and now you leave it, you give people license to say he doesn't know what he's doing. This is way above his head. This is the reason why he shouldn't be here. Maybe he should be at a different level coaching if he doesn't understand. You give people license to say that. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying they're only saying that because you gave them the material to say that. All I'm saying.
I think there's a different way of going about it too. Like he could have said, and I'm not trying to be overly harsh on and trying to pick apart him on or off the field. I'm just saying, like, he could have done himself a lot of justice in this by just saying, look, we didn't probably do everything that we could have done to give our offense the best chance to succeed. Leave it at that. You don't have to go and say, look, we didn't change the picture. We didn't motion guys. We didn't put guys in different positions. Like, that's something again, like you said, you put behind closed doors and you leave it there. But that's just, the state of the offense, the state of the program right now, it's not really good. So we'll see if West Virginia can get that offense going again this week. They're going to have to against Oklahoma, a team that they have not beat since entering Big 12 play. We'll get back to that game here in just a second. But the one segment I want to talk about this week is the race for the Big 12 championship. Obviously, the top two teams that finish in the league standings will play for the Big 12 championship game in Dallas at the end of the season. And, Gene, let's take a look at these standings right now. We've got TCU sitting alone at the very top at 6-0 in conference play. They control their own destiny. And right now, they are in a very good position to make not only just the Big 12 championship, but much more than that. The college football playoff is also. And then we have a three-way tie underneath of TCU with Texas, Baylor, and Kansas State all at 4-2. Kansas and Oklahoma State at 3-3. Oklahoma, Texas Tech at 2-4. And then down there at the bottom, G, you've got Iowa State 1-5 and West Virginia 1-5.
You just had to bring that up. I guess we're going through the whole state, so you have to.
Oh yeah, we're going through it. Now, before we get to the what we're kind of looking at with the Big 12 championship picture, just tell me your thoughts on when you look at those standings and you see that flying WV sitting down there at the 10 spot.
Man, listen. That hurts on many levels because as a former player, as you get older, for some odd reason, you start to take more pride in where you went to school. Okay, so no, you don't ever want to see West Virginia at the bottom of any category. That's the passion that we carry as Mountaineers, period. No, I'm not happy. I've talked to several of my former players in different eras of when we played at West Virginia. None of them are happy. None, not a single one, because we all wore that uniform. We all wanted to put on for that great state, for the university, and for the fans. So no, nobody's happy. So no, it doesn't sit well with me to see West Virginia at the bottom of the freaking Big 12. No, not at all.
It's definitely weird too to also see Kansas all the way up there towards the middle of the pack. But hey, it's been an awkward season. That's one way to put it, I guess. But so yeah, West Virginia's sitting at 1-5 at the very bottom. They are number 10, obviously, because they lost to Iowa State, who is also 1-5. And that's maybe even a bigger thing, is that you lost a game in blowout fashion to a team that had not won a conference game entering the weekend. They just could not find a way to win a game. They found one against West Virginia. So to the Big 12 championship picture, you've got, like I said, TCU standing at the top, Texas, Baylor, Kansas State, kind of all right there in the mix. Maybe Kansas or Oklahoma State if they get some help. There's 3 games left in the season. Who are your two teams that are going to get to that Big 12 title game and why?
I'm going to tell you something, man. It will be interesting. Look, TCU, to me, has proven themselves to be in a class by themselves.
Are they really happy? Are they a lock?
Me personally, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. Put it this way. What is TCU doing that won't allow them to be there?
Yeah.
At the end of these next 3, you understand what I'm saying? So Yeah, they're playing well enough. And I'm glad to see that they finally are number 4 in the overall picture because I really believe they should have been there last week, but that's neither here nor there. Um, Obviously, TCU, to be honest with you, man, there's something about Kansas State that I just don't.
Yes. Yes.
Man, listen.
I didn't think you were
Whew.
going there. I thought you were going to go with Texas. I mean, you're rocking the Dallas Cowboys shirt. I
Well,
mean,
look, this is something different. This is something different, Playboy. This is something different. I need something different.
oh,
That
dude,
Kansas State football team, I'll be honest with you, man. I'm really intrigued by what they're doing and how they're doing it.
yeah,
They seem to have this type of offense that they can bounce back for whatever mistakes that are made, and their defense makes enough plays. They make enough plays to win football games. Their special teams have been consistent. You can see that they have this the recipe for we're going to minimize our mistakes on offense. We're going to get the ball back 1 or 2 extra possessions on defense, and we're going to make enough plays in the special teams game to win football games. And if you do those things consistently, that is a recipe to win games.
yeah. They have arguably one of the best defensive players in the league, and I'm gonna try and pronounce his name. I might butcher, but Felix Inudike Uzoma, dude is a freak. I mean,
Yeah.
just absolute freak. Creates plays in the backfield consistently.
Yeah.
Offensively, you got Deuce Vaughn. You've got
Big
Martinez.
fan of Deuce Vaughn's. I'm a big fan of Deuce Vaughn. Yeah. He's different.
He kind of reminds you a little bit of Darren Sproles, doesn't he? And I noticed the Kansas State.
Absolutely.
Man, he is electrifying to watch. And, you know, Gene, I really hate to say it, but I mean, you're right. But I think the one thing that also kind of led me to Kansas State is they got the easiest schedule remaining outside of Texas and Baylor.
Yeah.
Because Kansas State, they have they have Baylor this week, then they got
Right.
West Virginia and Kansas. So
Be
I mean,
easy. Be easy.
Texas, Texas has to play TCU still. Baylor
Right.
still has to play TCU, and Baylor
Right.
and Texas still have to play each other. So those two teams are going to knock each other out one way or the other. And I think Kansas State, again, I hate to say it, but they got West Virginia on the schedule.
I'm not messing with you. Kansas State is sitting in a very, very good spot right now. The way the schedule has aligned and has fallen in place for them, yeah, they're sitting in the best spot of the other two to get to where they need to get to. They control their own destiny, to be honest with you.
Listen, and I've been on the Kansas State bandwagon since the very beginning. I think at the very start of the season when we made our predictions, I had Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. But my stupidity, I went against Kansas State the last time we had the Walk the Game Day show when they were playing Oklahoma State, as did you. And you remember what that score was? 48-0, Kansas State over Oklahoma State.
Yeah, listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. When I think back on that, in my head, I'm gonna tell you something. I can't even take credit, but I gotta give my wife credit because usually my wife's a big football fan, as you know, and she knows her stuff.
Oh yeah.
That particular game, we talked about it. She picked Kansas State.
There you have
it. Yeah, honestly. And I went against her. I was like, no. She actually picked Kansas State. So when that happened, my wife's not the type to look at you and say, I told you so. She won't know. She won't say I told you. The look says it all. Her look speaks a million words.
Can you give a good impression of it?
Absolutely. Hold on, take the glasses off. You see the slight little smile. Look, the head. That lets you know I ain't gotta say nothing.
Yeah, that's almost worse than saying anything, honestly.
That look says you know what it is. You saw the score.
So real quick, outside of Kansas State and TCU, because that's apparently we're on the same page here. Who, if you had to pick a third team that could be in the mix, or who do you think could end up getting to the Big 12 championship, who would that be?
Texas. And the reason why I say Texas, it really does depend on their quarterback play. For some odd reason, that offense really spells out a a fired up defense. When they're playing well offensively, their defense just rides off of that, man. They feed off of that. So if they're doing well offensively and the quarterback is playing well, I'm gonna tell you something. Texas would be a hard out for anybody if their offense is playing well and they're clicking.
Yeah.
Because I watched that, what they almost did to Alabama in the beginning of the season was real interesting. I'm gonna tell you something now. Had what's his Orrs?
Quinn Ewers.
Ewers. If he not got hurt, man, Oklahoma. Had he not got hurt, Alabama would have had their third loss of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm telling you, Texas would have beat them had he not gotten hurt.
So, Texas, I'm right there with you. Bijan Robinson, maybe the best running back in the country. Xavier Worthy, really dynamic receiver.
Yeah.
I think also you can't count out Baylor either. Dave Aranda.
No, you can't. I just think you can't, because Baylor's a good football team, well coached and all of that. I just think Texas brings a little something different when they're playing well offensively.
Yeah, and I think they have probably more of an offensive attack than probably Baylor does. So, yeah, I would have to agree. Texas probably be my third team. Oklahoma State, I don't know what Spencer Sanders' situation is with his health, but if he gets healthy, even at 3-3, they can make a run down here at the end of the season and get back into it, because they got a fairly easy schedule too. They got West Virginia left also. So,
anyway. I can't with you.
Anyway, you know what, Gene? We're going to skip over. Actually, we won't skip over. We'll do it real quick. Keys to the game for West Virginia. I'm going to keep it clean and simple. For me, just go out and play ball. There's been a lot of negativity surrounding the program. There's a lot of stress, I'm sure, from these players and coaching staff. They're probably pressing a little bit. Saw that last week with JT Daniels trying to make things happen. Just go out and play. You're 3-6. Like, your backs are against the wall. You have to win every game from here on out. But let's be honest, even if you get to a bowl game, you're not playing in an Year 6 game. You're not playing the college football playoff. You're probably playing some team from Conference USA or the MAC, and it doesn't really matter as much. So just go out and play, have fun, get back to what it's all about. And, hey, this is an opportunity for you to go out and beat Oklahoma for the first time since you entered the conference. That could be something that you could be a part of in terms of West Virginia's history. So that, and then secondly, for me, JT Daniels, just get back to where he was before the Iowa State game. We don't need to see a resemblance of last week. And then lastly, be aggressive. Again, your backs are against the wall. You have nothing else to play for, right? You have nothing to lose. If you got 4th and 3 on your own 35 in the first quarter, hell with it, Neil. Go for it. What do you got to lose at this point?
Well, I'm not going to suggest that, but you think he's getting barbecued now? He does that.
Oh yeah.
Out the pot and into the fire for sure. But I'm going to say this, man. Listen, simplest put, play with pride. Play with some pride. It's not even about play with some pride. Be prepared. Do the things that you know that you can do and play within yourself. So in other words, control what you can control. So in doing that, if you take care of the little things and play with pride each and every play, you'll be surprised at the end of the fourth quarter what the scoreboard would potentially say. Play with pride. Stop going out here and just going through the motions. Those MAs, missed assignments and mistakes and things of that nature, we're better than that. So just play with pride, finish this season off with Mountaineer pride, and let's see where that takes us.
And where that takes us is to our DVN Pick'ems. And, Gene, I told you before the show started, we had a little surprise. And let's take a look at those standings, baby. 29-16 for Eugene and 29-16 for me. So we are dead even heading into this week. Obviously, we didn't have our show last week, but we're back. We've got 5 games on the slate, and this is the week where I come back and take over first place for the first time since like week 1.
Okay.
So
let's see what you're talking about first. Let's see what you got.
All right, so here we go. First up in the SEC, number 10 Alabama at number 11 Ole Miss. We're using the AP Top 25 rankings in case you're confused. 3:30 on CBS. Man, does Alabama lose 3 games in the season? I don't know. Ole Miss has played well this year, but I don't see Alabama losing back-to-back games. I just don't. They're too talented of a team. I like Bryce Young. I'm going
Right.
with Alabama. Roll Tide.
No, I agree with you. Roll Tide. I don't see them losing 2 games in a row, and I don't see them losing 3 games in a season. So yeah, I'm with you on that. That's a safe pick.
The second game, or the second show in a row that we've got Central Florida featured here. Number 22 Central Florida and number 16 Tulane, 3:30 ESPN2. Tulane has been a really good football team this year. Willie Fritz has got that thing going. Probably one of the surprises in college football this year. They could finish out the season strong and maybe sneak into a New Year's Six game, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going UCF with the upset in a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 41-38 UCF.
This is why you're not going to catch me. Tulane.
I caught you. Now I'm going to pass you.
That green wave is something different. They're playing really, really well. I don't see that being derailed, so I'm going with Tulane. And as a matter of fact, I'm with you, though. It'll be a high-scoring game, but I think Tulane will pull it out. I'm talking about they'll probably score 42 points, so 42-31, Tulane.
Out to the Pac-12, number 24 Washington and number 6 Oregon at 7 o'clock on Fox. Man, Gene, like that first game of the season where Georgia just boat raced Oregon, it looked like it was going to be a long year for Oregon. They've bounced back, and they have been hot ever since. I don't know if you can go against them right now. I'm going to go with the Ducks, and I think they win this one comfortably.
Let me tell you something.
Uh-oh.
That yellow, baby. That's the beak. You know, the quack, the beak on the duck. Yeah, brother. Nah, I'm with you. They're playing very, very well. I don't think you can go against them. They got that thing moving. So Oregon all day long. I picked Oregon.
The biggest game of the Big 12 this week, and it could help one of them get into the Big 12 championship. That's number 4 TCU at number 18 Texas, 7:30 ABC. Does TCU stay undefeated? No, they don't. I'm going hook 'em horns. I'm going with Texas. Yes, I cannot believe it either. I think this is, if TCU is going to lose a game this season, it's going to be this one on the road. Tough place to play. A lot on the line. Texas has to win this game to stay in the race. I'm going with Texas.
As much as I like Texas, TCU will be undefeated this season.
Oh, okay.
So I don't see them losing. I don't see anybody taking them out of where they are. They are locked in. They are dialed in. They are focused. They will go to Austin and handle their business. That's the kind of that's the kind of team and program that they've become. They will go to Austin and handle their business.
Yes, and now to the game we're all here for, West Virginia and Oklahoma. No, it's not the high explosive offensive affair that you're going to usually expect between these two, with a team that's usually coming into this game as a top 10 team and sitting at the top of the Big 12. But that doesn't mean that this game doesn't hold some weight. West Virginia is 0-9 against Oklahoma since entering the Big 12, and Neil Brown talked about the importance of making some history this weekend.
Huge challenge for us. Attitude of the team is positive. We went back, had practice on Sunday, and it's about, hey, we got 3 games left in the season. Really not looking for anything after that. We're just saying, hey, let's do the best we can this week. And we need to perform better on Saturday, and to do that, you got to practice and prepare. But the mentality of the team was good. They were good. Not pleased with the results, but had a good work day. Had a good lifting this morning, and we'll be back to work this afternoon. And this week, the thing that's great, and the reason why I really believe our guys are excited is because Oklahoma, and you have an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done since we joined the Big 12. West Virginia hasn't beaten Oklahoma since joining the Big 12. Now, a couple big wins before joining the Big 12, and obviously we know about those. And but this team has the opportunity to be the first one to win since joining the Big 12. So I think that is added incentive.
All right, Gene, West Virginia, Oklahoma, noon on FS1. Can West Virginia get that first win against Oklahoma? And this might be their last chance. We don't know what Oklahoma's future is in the Big 12. This might be at least their last chance at home against Oklahoma. I've been back and forth on this because I think West Virginia has played better, much, much better at home this year compared to on the road. That said, I can't get there. I can't get there for whatever reason. Oklahoma just has West Virginia's number, and I don't know if the offense is going to be able to overcome all the issues that they had a week ago. I'm going to go Oklahoma here, and I'll say I'm going to hold off on my score prediction because I'll have that out on Friday. So I'll let you take it.
Here's the thing. I played this game, as everybody knows. My heart is where it's at, as everybody knows. I don't want people to get this thing misconstrued as if I don't know football and I don't know what I'm talking about, because I always pick WVU. I'm picking West Virginia with my heart.
Now tell them what your mind's thinking.
I can share that. I can share that. My mind knows that this is going to be an uphill, difficult task because we're just not playing consistent enough in all three phases of the game to beat an Oklahoma team that happens to, we haven't beaten them so that's the truth of the matter. My brain knows, okay, Oklahoma probably will come into Morgantown, unfortunately, and win this football game. My heart says, come on, bro. My heart says, you can't do it. You can't go against your Mountaineers, man. You understand? So my heart is picking West Virginia, and I'm going to leave it at that. Don't worry about what my brain is saying.
Maybe we'll make a split screen there for you at the bottom here. Half of it says West Virginia, the other half says Oklahoma. So
if you did split screen it, you would say Napoleon's heart says WVU, his brain says Oklahoma. But I'm gonna go with the Mountaineers, baby. Listen, I gotta ride us out. That's it. I'm going with the Mountaineers.
So there you have it. Gene's gonna, have a little back and forth between West Virginia and Oklahoma, between his heart and his brain. I'm going Oklahoma all the way. But that's going to do it for this week's The Walkthrough Game Day Show presented by Mountaineers Now on Sports Illustrated Fan Nation. Tomorrow, we will have a Mountaineers Now post-game show for the Backyard Brawl West Virginia pick. Chris Hall, my co-publisher on the site, will join me live from the Peterson Events Center. And then we will also have a Mountaineers Now post-game show for this week's game against Oklahoma. Gene will be back with me for that. So a lot coming for you over the next couple of days. You don't want to miss it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night after the basketball game. See you guys then.